Hello and welcome back to another video. So today I wanted to talk about something that I haven't heard much about from other tech content creators on YouTube. As most of you know, getting a GPU right now is not that easy. Prices are high and availability is low. Everyone knows that. But in today's video, I want to talk a bit about what's going on in the back end of this whole thing. I'm fortunate enough to have a pretty good relationship with a gaming PC company called IWN, and they were more than happy to give me as much information as they could give about what it's like for manufacturers, distributors, and system integrators during this time. But before we get into the video, make sure that if you do end up enjoying it, that you leave a like on it. It really helps me out as a content creator. And if you want to see more content about the computer hardware market or just general tech content, consider hitting that subscribe button. Now, there are a couple of things that people need to understand for this video to make any sort of sense. The process that a GPU has to go through, or any hardware has to go through in general, to make it into a consumer's hands isn't that simple. All Nvidia and AMD do is sell the actual GPU chips along with the video memory associated with that card. Then it goes to the AIBs, aka the add-in board partners, these companies like Asus, Gigabyte, and EVGA, then buy the chip and memory from AMD and Nvidia to then make their own boards and cooling solutions. After that, these companies will usually send these cards to a distributor, and that is who companies like NZXT and iBuyPower buy most of their parts from. And through each step along the way, there is an associated shipping time and price increase. So for example, Nvidia might sell the die and the memory for a 3070 for $150, then the AIBs make the card and the cooler to sell it off for $300, and at that point the distributor sells it for $350 once they get the card, and then the shops and the OEMs then sell that card for $500. And the time for this whole entire process to happen is roughly a month or so, and this would be how it would happen within a normal year. What is different now is the overall high demand for these chips. AMD and Nvidia are printing money at this point. Every single wafer that they get is guaranteed to make them money, but they are bottlenecked by the number of silicon wafers that they can get. While AMD and Nvidia usually won't mark up the prices for the GPU and the memory based on demand, the AIBs certainly will. Once AIBs get the chips and the memory from AMD and Nvidia, they pretty much have free reign to charge whatever they want for their cards. In the past, this has been counteracted with competition, but since the demand is so high right now, these AIBs are charging the distributors $400 to $500 per RTX 3070, and then the retail shops and OEMs have to buy the card for around $500 to $600, and that is why you are seeing cards on sites like Newegg and Amazon selling for $400 to $500 above their MSRP. And while it does suck for us as gamers to not be able to get the cards that we want for a decent price, it also sucks for these retail shops and companies that make gaming PCs. For one, most of you who have been on Newegg to buy a GPU might have seen that most of the time to even buy one, you need to purchase it in a bundle. That means that to get the card that you want, you also need to buy another item. Now, if you're looking to build a system from the ground up, this might be great, but for those of you who are just looking to upgrade your GPU, it might force you to spend some more money on a part that you don't really need. But surprisingly, this isn't a policy that is for the most part being enacted by the retailers. IWN said that most of the distributors that they buy from have some sort of bundling policy. So in order for them to buy a GPU, you also need to bundle items within that purchase. When it comes to the bundles themselves, they are looking pretty steep. Items that you must include are in the $60 to $200 range, and there is a little document that IWN made for me outlining the bundling process. For a card like a 3080 or a 6900 XT, you're forced to buy 3 items to bundle in your purchase. For cards like the 3060 and 6700 XT, you're forced to buy 2 items, and then the lower end stuff like a GTX 1650 is just 1 item. Let me remind you that bundling does not give them a discount, it just allows these companies to buy a GPU. IWN also said that for the most part it kind of works out because some distributors allow you to pick from a list of items to bundle, so most of the time they will just bundle items that they're going to use in one of their PCs. But they also told me a story of them not having any say in the matter of what they have to buy with the GPUs that they were ordering, and they said that they have been stuck with things like a $200 AMD motherboard, which really doesn't have a place in any of their systems. Now, this whole bundling thing is trying to serve two purposes for the distributors. One is to make more money and move inventory that usually doesn't sell fast, and the other is to try to combat crypto miners. For the most part, crypto miners just need GPUs. You can run about 8 GPUs per motherboard on a mining rig, so when they don't need things like motherboards and cases, it makes it less and less appealing for them to buy from these distributors. But it isn't having as strong as an effect as many people would think. Right now, mining profitability is through the roof. Heck, on my gaming rig, I made $20 one day mining Ethereum. It's just absolutely nuts. So because a lot of these mining farms are making a crazy amount of money right now, they are just eating the cost of the bundle and buying the GPUs anyway. And from what I understand, the price increases themselves are mainly coming from the AIBs. And this is pretty apparent when you just compare pricing of the cards when they go in stock. EVGA cards like their 3080 for the win are usually listed for around the $900 mark, while the 3080 cards from MSI are being sold for $1,000 plus. And this assumption was also confirmed when talking to IWN. Many of these distributors and retailers are still selling cards for what they would normally mark them up for, but because AIBs get to dictate the pricing, they are going to be able to charge as much as they want as long as the demand is still there. So don't blame Newegg and Amazon or your local Micro Center for having crazy expensive cards, because for the most part, they're still taking in the same margin that they usually do when it comes to these cards. And just to give you a better idea on what the pricing is like for these companies, here is a list of what the wholesale pricing for these cards is kind of like. A 3060 costs around $370 to $450. A 3060 Ti is $477 to $750. An RTX 3070 is $540 all the way up to $700. A RTX 3080 is $721 all the way up to $1,200 plus, and a 3090 is about $1,542 all the way past $3,000. And again, let me remind you that this is wholesale pricing, which should be much cheaper than MSRP. Now let's talk about shipping times. If any of you have ordered a PC online here within the past couple of months, you probably know that shipping times are super long right now. And while many of you might think that it is because these companies are getting a lot of orders and can't handle the influx of buyers, most of the time it's not that. IWN told me that their delays mainly all stem from getting the GPUs in so that they can finish the system. IWN also told me that they have waited on a batch of 3080s for close to 3 months. They also said that there are outstanding orders at these distributors in the tens of thousands. So just know, it's not taking the company 3 months to put a system together and ship it to you. It just takes 3 months for them to get a graphics card. And the main reason it's taking forever to get these cards is GPUs themselves take a while to be made. A lot of the time, the GPU that is sitting on a shelf in a store or in your brand new gaming system was made about a month ago. It takes time to ship the dies and the memory from AMD and Nvidia to the AIBs. It takes time for the AIBs to make the cards and ship those out, and then these distributors to get the GPU, and then it takes them more time to where it needs to go to everybody else. So in general, things are kind of a mess right now. Even if AMD or Nvidia all of a sudden doubled the number of chips that they made, we still wouldn't see its effect until months later. Now that's about all of the info I have right now about how it is to be on the back end of this whole GPU shortage. So if you have any sort of questions, feel free to comment down below or just check out the channel Discord within the description. Thanks again for watching. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and peace out.